First of all, bit of fun and games at the airport yesterday. Can you just give us your thoughts on that?
I didn't see it, but obviously it wasn't ideal. But hopefully it's being dealt with and everyone's able to move on. Obviously, we know come to Australia, there's a lot of eyeballs, there's a lot of intensity and scrutiny on everything you do, and I feel like we've managed ourselves pretty well throughout this tour. I thought the boys were outstanding. The last week we've had, they're engaging with a lot of the locals, and everyone was in good spirits. There was some good banter flying both ways, and I think everyone treated it in the respect that it deserved.
Can you tell us how the lads are rolling up today? You had your time off in Noosa, talk about that. Do you think that they're arriving now in good shape to get back on the pitch and talk on the field?
I hope so. Yeah, that's the idea. Noosa for us was excellent. It was planned obviously a year ago, and for us it was quite an important period where we can, I guess, not step away from the game, but just give ourselves a chance to be allowed to allow some of the lessons we've learned over the last couple of weeks to settle and to recalibrate a little bit, spend some time away from the heat of the battle, and just try and spend a bit of time together. And I think now, the freshness which we come into this test match with will hopefully pay off. There's no guarantees, but that's the plan. I think the boys are excited to get back to training and look forward to the next few days prep leading into this test.
And if we rewind to 2023, you said it was 2-0 down, that 3-2 had a nice ring to it. Are you feeling similar this time over in Australia?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we knew when we came here that we had to win 3 tests to win the series, and the fact we're 2-0 down is we've made it harder on ourselves, but it doesn't stop the belief that you have within the dressing room. I don't think we've been anywhere near our best so far in these last 2 tests, and whilst the margins look huge in terms of the scoreboard, I think that we've certainly had our moments in those first two test matches where we could have been a lot better, and we may have been able to put ourselves in a stronger winning position. But what's been's been for us now. It's not a matter of fighting the war that's been. It's focusing on the one that's coming. And the conditions here at Adelaide are going to be quite different to what we've faced in both the Gabba and at Perth as well. We're going to be quicker to adapt to the conditions which we're going to be confronted with, quicker to adapt to the plans Australia set down to us as well, and just be a little more calculated when we get the opportunity to be able to put the foot on the throat. And I think Australia, we know they're a tough team. They're a resourceful team. They switch plans quickly and they buy into those plans quickly, and we've probably been a little bit slow to do so far. So there's some areas that we can improve, but we know we've got a couple of gears left in us if we can find them.
And when you assess the 6 days of cricket that you've seen from your players, do you expect selection this week to be longer, more difficult, a bit more involved than sort of the teams you've run out so far? Are there a few more questions to answer than you expected?
Look, we always have good conversations around selection, and for us it's a matter of trying to pick the team that you think gives you the best chance to perform in the game that you've got and the conditions that you've got against the opposition that you're playing against, and that'll be no different for this test match. To play 5 test matches is incredibly difficult as well, so naturally you're going to need to call on your squad members, and no different to what Australia's done. We'll have to call on some of our squad members as well, and we'll work out over the next 24 hours what we feel is our best opportunity with the squad, with the 11 that we go on with.
Sammy, go ahead.
Thanks, Danny. Hey, Brendon, you spoke before about not looking too much into the attention, the level of attention that you guys receive. As the leader of this squad, are you comfortable with the scrutiny that you guys have been under here in Australia?
Yeah, I think the music stops at some stage, right, in everyone's careers, and you don't get that scrutiny, you don't get those eyeballs, you don't get the pressure environment that you're operating in now. So, it's in a funny way you actually look back on that sometimes, speaking as a player who's sort of stepped away from the game, and obviously now you're in a coaching role, but you do miss it. That's the fun stuff. That's where you find out a lot about yourself. That's where you're able to, I guess, prove to yourself what you're capable of achieving. And cricket at the highest level is a hard game, as is any international sport, and the scrutiny that comes with it is no bad thing. It's how you embrace that, how you're able to lean into it, and how you're still able to clear your mind when you walk out to play to give yourself the best chance. And from a coach's point of view, a leader's point of view, you're also under that scrutiny as well, and that's again something that you need to embrace. That's the fun stuff of the job, is being able to, when all those around you are losing their head, it's pretty handy to keep yours. And just because the scrutiny is at its highest and the job's at its hardest, that's the stuff you should look forward to, and that's why I'm excited for what this week's got to bring.
It didn't look too fun yesterday. Do you have any idea why it played out the way it did?
I think I've answered that. I think from our point of view, I think we've been very respectful right throughout this tour. We knew that the scrutiny and the eyeballs would be more extreme than we used to, and I think over the last few weeks, I think we've dealt with it really well. We'll continue to try and embrace everything that Australia has to offer. There is hostility. My wife's Australian. I know the Australian people very well, and there is hostility early, but once you break that down, it's always good fun, and you end up getting respect. So that's why I think from our boys, they know that we haven't been at our best on the field. We've still got to enjoy ourselves off the field, still treat this country with the respect and enjoyment that we want when we came down here, and just tidy up a few things on the field.
Lawrence, go ahead.
Brendon, is this a general feeling that the 3.5 years you've worked with Ben will be judged almost entirely by what happens out here and possibly even this week? Do you think that's fair?
It is what it is, right? I think we came here with high hopes and high expectations. We had a plan that we felt was going to be successful, or give ourselves the best chance of being successful. We haven't quite executed that so far, and Australia have seized those key moments, and hence they sit 2-0 up. It doesn't mean that we throw that plan out now. If anything, we just need to chisel away at some of the things we haven't got quite right and make sure that we still have that conviction in what we're trying to achieve. I think these conditions should suit our style a little bit better as well. Doesn't mean we couldn't have been successful previously, but this is probably more attuned to what our best form of cricket, our best style of cricket. Whatever happens is outside your own control, right? You just try and hold the fort, and you try and make sure that the confidence in the players remains high. You protect the environment. That's your job as a leader, is to protect the environment, and I'll never shy away from protecting my players. That's your job as a leader, and there's times where you have to take your own scrutiny on board for that, and that's fine. That's why you're in the job. You sign up for these jobs because you know you're tough enough to handle those situations, and you make sure you add a layer of protection so that the boys' confidence doesn't dip too far, so that when we walk out there in a few days' time, we're still a very live chance.
We'll go down here and then Barrett.
Brendon, just I suppose as an extension of what you touched on there, do you feel your job is under any threat if things don't go to plan here this week?
I don't know, but it doesn't really bother me, to be honest. I think, again, like professional sport, it's not easy, right? Like, you do the job to the best of your ability, you have conviction in what you're doing, and whatever happens, happens. But I certainly don't coach to protect a job. I coach to get the best out of people, and that's the same with the skipper. We both go about that in our same way with the same level of conviction, and that won't be changing this week just because the prize is at its highest. We'll remain committed to what we're doing in the same way that we do, and we'll keep trying to build the confidence levels within the group to give ourselves the best chance. I firmly believe if we play our best cricket, we are a massive chance in this test match. If we do that, then the narrative changes and the series momentum changes, but it's all in front of us to achieve in the next few days.
Barrett.
Brendon, do you think at times like some of your messaging gets understood differently outside the dressing room as compared to what you speak to the boys? I mean, even the thing you said the other day about having trained too much. What did you mean by that? And do you think at times people outside don't understand what you actually mean?
Yeah, there's a couple of elements to it. I think, first of all, when what you're saying to your dressing room is you're trying to evaluate where the team's at the end of a test match and at the end of a loss, knowing that you have 9 days before you need to go back out into the arena. And so the messages to the guys are always a matter of trying to shift the focus forward as well. Obviously not to do so without some sort of level of thought and reflection, but you're trying to shift it forward so that your confidence levels don't dip. Because when they do, you have no chance, absolutely no chance. So what you say to them and then what you say in the media can be quite different. I will always protect my players, and if that means that it puts me in the spotlight, I have no problem with that. And for us, it was important over those few days to be able to get away from the game. As much as you don't want anyone reading the media within your setup, sometimes it happens, right? So you got to be able to be savvy enough to be able to make some plays, which will hopefully allow you to buy some time and buy your squad some time. In terms of being over-prepared, I had this conversation actually before in the hotel. It's not about working the hardest. Working the hardest doesn't guarantee you success. Working the longest doesn't guarantee you success. What I meant by us being over-prepared is we had 5 intense training sessions where, in my opinion, we left ourselves a fraction short in terms of our energy and our ability to play what was in front of us, which on that wicket required quite a different game to necessarily what you train in the nets. You have to think on your feet, you have to be able to manoeuvre your game, you have to be able to identify risk, you have to work out how to apply pressure, put it back on based on the surface and the conditions you're confronted with. If you over-prepare or you over-train based on how many balls you hit on a true surface, that can leave you a little bit ill-prepared in that moment. Look, there is no perfect preparation. If it was hitting 4,000 balls and it guarantees the average 90, every bloke would hit 4,000 balls. If you bowled 120 balls and it guarantees you're taking 10 for, everyone would do that. That's not how it works. But for me, I think you need an edge about when you enter a game. You need to be mentally fresh, you need to be physically fresh. And 5 intense training sessions on the back of a difficult loss, I don't think necessarily gave us our best chance. And I'll wear that. I'm happy to wear that as leader. I'm happy to wear the message that I said. I know not everyone will agree with it, but less focus is on me, not the lads.
Take a few more, Louis, and then we'll go Will. Go ahead, Louis.
Brendon, you spoke about that before this tour about having a lot of high pace bowlers, kind of having that sort of 140k plus guys. Like, how have you felt the ones that you played on so far and losing one of the big board? How has that changed?
Again, I don't think the blueprint's necessarily wrong. I think our execution hasn't quite been there, and we're all big enough to admit we haven't been at our best, right? I think we haven't been able to operate necessarily consistently enough on the lengths, which have been the most challenging on the surfaces that we've been confronted with, and that'll be what we're going to have to adapt to quickly here, is what length gives us the most amount of danger with ball in hand, and how we're able to control the game and the momentum within a game so that we're not passing up those opportunities to attack. So look, the boys, everyone puts their hand up. We haven't been at our best with the bat, we haven't been at the best with the ball, and we haven't been out with our best in the field either. So it doesn't mean we don't have the skills, but at the moment we just haven't found that little ingredient you need if you're going to come to Australia and take them on in their own conditions to be successful. But it doesn't mean we can't over the next 3 days, and that'll be the focus. It's not focusing on what's been. We've already reflected on that. We've learnt the lessons we've talked about some of the lessons that we've learnt, how we think Australia will attack us on the surface, how we think their batters will go about it, where's some areas we can attack them. Now it's a matter of training that over the next 3 days, keeping ourselves fresh, keeping our spirits and our morale high, and then entering the arena and letting that play out and being able to handle the pressure of what unfolds. If we do that, we're a good chance.
We'll go Will on this left-hand side.
You said you expect conditions to be different here. Can you explain to the layman how you expect conditions to be here, and also, especially given the weather forecast, what that might mean for your selection of spinner? You'll see up the Jazz, but Bashir is giving you a number of
Well, I'm not going to explain that because that's giving away our tactics. But the conditions will be different. I'm sure if you do all your homework based on where wickets fall and what pitch maps are right and where the most successful batters and bowlers on these surfaces, all of that information throws it up. You add your cricketing nous to it, and you come up with a game plan that you think is going to give yourself the best chance. Then it's about executing it. We have a very good squad here. We've had 12 guys who've had an opportunity so far within the squad. We know that we've got other members of the squad that will be called upon at some stage. When that is, we'll work it out over the next 24 hours based on what we think is going to be successful in the middle of Adelaide Oval.
Okay, we'll do Dan Bretton here, and then Scott, and then Ali, and then we'll finish with Matt. Go ahead.
Brendon, I was just going to ask about the last 3 years when you've been coaching, like to have players out front. I don't think it's some usual practice for you to talk before a game. Is that because you're here to protect the players? Is that what you're doing?
Look, I think when you're going well, I think that's a great time for the players to be able to be out front and centre, be recognisable, for their personalities to come through. Rubes and I talked about this, and then when things are, you need succinct messaging, you need to protect your bottom line of performance or where you think things are, then that's the job of your leaders to do so, and hence why Stokesy spoke last week. That's why I'm here today. We know where we're at in the series, and we know we're behind. We know that things are going to be pretty hot in the coming days as well. But that's where the fun stuff is, right? That's where your niche is in the market, is to be able to handle this stuff and to be able to still drum the boys up, to be able to get out there and be a better reflection of what we've been so far in the series. So again, we make no apologies for that.
Brendon, I know you say that we'll have selections over the next 24, 48 hours, but is there a consideration to all Ben Stokes to go to number 3? And if so, is that saying you
No.
consider Brendon? There's no consideration?
No.
Ali, and then we'll finish with Matt.
Okay. Jofra Archer's sort of been a bit subject to debate after the first 2 tests. That spell at the end kind of got a bit of attention. How do you appraise his tour so far? What are the conversations you are having with him, and kind of where's he at going into this, as you say, pretty important test?
Jofra's good. I thought you say what you want, but if you mope around bowling 75 mile an hour in that last innings, then the narrative would be very different, right? In the end, the skipper asked our boys to not mope around, not feel sorry for yourself. Well, we have been outplayed in this game, but we have an opportunity over 60-odd runs to fire some bullets and see where we land. I have no problem with him stepping up to that level. It is impossible to bowl 150-odd K every single time. The thing about Joffrey is a very good ability to be able to go through the gears, and because he's quite an easy, he's got an easy action as well. I think it can often be misinterpreted as bowling within himself. Sometimes you need to bowl within yourself as well to be able to reduce your level of missing, and to be a little bit more accurate and try and give yourself the best chance to zero in on something. Dale Steyn was a great example of that. Some of the old West Indian boys back in the day, they used to operate up and down the gears as well. And Jofra will be no different in this test match when he gets the chance. And I think he's been really good. He hasn't had a lot of luck so far. He's all in. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I pick up on things like this as part of a team. But he bowled 25 overs the other day, and he chased the ball as hard as I've seen to the boundary on 2 occasions. He didn't run it down, but that's the level of investment, the level of engagement, and the level of commitment that Joff's got, and that's what we expect from everyone.
Sorry, if you were to freshen up the attack with Josh Target, looks like the next guy in line, what would you be expecting from him? He's a guy that would be almost starting. You've got guys who are now 2 tests into their series and probably up and running, but that's now a guy's almost from a standing start again. So where would he be at in those conversations?
Well, he's of course in the conversations, right? He's part of the squad of 15, and as I just said, we're going to need to call upon, if not everyone, then the majority of the squad within the next few test matches. And everyone knows what he brings. He brings high pace. He hits the wicket hard from the fuller length. He can swing the ball, reverse swing the ball. So he's a wicket taker. If that's what we deem is going to be most successful on that pitch, then he'll get a run, and we'll work out where that fits in the order.
And last one, Matt, on our left. Go ahead, Matt.
The top 7's been pretty conceptual for the last 18 months. Are you at a stage now in the series where that will be discussed, the possibility of changing that in the next 4 hours?
I wouldn't have thought so. I think from our point of view, we've had a top 7 now for a period of time, and we've been reasonably successful with it. These conditions should suit the style of batters that we've got as well. We know we haven't got enough runs so far in the series. We've been in positions where we could have, and we've made mistakes, and that can happen at times. But for us to go on and win the series, it's not about throwing out what's been successful for us over the last few years. It's about having more conviction in it. It's about making sure that we have our plans and our disciplines around it just screwed down a touch more.